Hey guys, just doing a little bit of workout here in the backyard. As you can see behind me, got the corn going, some squash, tomato plants, things like that. And I meant to make a video yesterday. I just kind of slipped my mind. I had other stuff going on, besides here doing things, just doing things for the neighbor at their house. Um, Just a little bit of yard work there, yard work here, gardening, different things, with, well, it's not even summertime yet, but it's already in the 90s, upper 90s, occasionally 100s. Um, but yeah, I'm adjusting to it and being a little bit smarter this year. Especially with me being a type 1 diabetic, I stay plenty hydrated. I mean, that's with anybody, just to stay plenty hydrated. But um, especially if, oh, it looks like two fighter jets or something. Anyway, just especially being a type 1 diabetic, though, you want to be hydrated. The less hydrated you are, and especially if you're not probably, I don't want to say eating the way that you should be eating, because we can pretty much eat like anybody else. We just need to take insulin for it. Should that give us a license to just recklessly treat ourselves bad? I don't think that should be the case. Do I think every once in a while we should be able to live life? Yeah, I do. But anyway, yeah, it's just stay hydrated. When you need to take a break, take a break. I mean, it's not like you're at work to where you get a break, lunch, and then a break. Um, just do a little bit at a time. That's what I've been doing anyway. Every day I'll come home and after work, and I'll wait until the evening around 7:30, and I'll come out and do a little bit at a time. Just do a few things, and then not feel the least bit concerned on if everything gets done or not, because I'll be out the next day, and then I'll be out the next day. Unless it gets to about 105, 110, then I probably, it depends. It depends. But like I said, especially being a type 1 diabetic, um, or even a type 2, I would imagine. Like I said, stay hydrated, and the more dehydrated you are, the higher your blood sugars are going to be. That's pretty much why I say to stay hydrated. Um, Today was Hawaiian shirt day at work, or not Hawaiian shirt. It was just Hawaiian day. I don't know. There wasn't too many people wearing Hawaiian shirts. I don't know. Figure it'd be awesome to sport it. Um, Actually, I had originally bought this for my mom's memorial. Her favorite color was pink, and I found the pinkest one that I could find. Um, but anyway, I'm kind of getting off subject. Well, I haven't even got onto the subject yet. With yesterday when I was gardening, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, all my favorite tools for gardening and how they make things a little bit easier. How I was also thinking about, just the space that I have for my garden, how it seems like it takes, for me, some effort, especially if it's hot and I don't feel like doing anything. It definitely makes me appreciate my grandparents, how they grew up, where they came from, how they came out to California during the early to mid 40s. Um, we got it easy. We got it on easy street. Most of us these days aren't out in the fields. Um, most of us these days are in an air conditioned building for work, just like I'm in an air conditioning building for work. My dad, for years, I'm assuming, was in an air conditioned building. He worked at an olive plant for a lot of years. And before that, I mean, before that, he worked on dairies when he was about 17, 18 years old. Um, he had worked on dairies all throughout Tulare County, and if you don't know where Tulare County is, it's in Central California. But he worked on dairies when he was a teenager, and growing up from the time he was 5 years old, he told me stories about how grandma would come and pick him up from kindergarten and give him a gunny sack and give him a sandwich on the way out to the fields, and he would go out to the fields and they would start cutting grapes, or they would start um, whatever that they were harvesting at the time. They would go out to the fields and they would work a row, and they would have water waiting on them once they got through with one row. And that's how they did it. That's how the family got through some challenging times, I would imagine. um, I remember my dad telling me that sometimes my grandpa would do like a rain dance uh, in the middle of the walnut orchards. Um, my grandparents, they met out in the fields. That's how they met when they didn't move out to California together. They met in California through my grandma's sister and brother-in-law. They introduced my grandma and grandpa out in the fields, and that's how they met. Was out there out in the fields, picking or just harvesting whatever they were working on. And they got married in, I think, 1949 in Orosi. I want to say Orosi. Um, but yeah, they worked out in the fields. My grandma, she cleaned houses. Um, they came out from, well, I know my grandpa's family came out from Mosley. I think it's Mosley, Oklahoma, back in 1940. Um, and then my some of the family might have been stationed in California or somewhere around here, and they really liked it, and they decided they wanted to be out here. And then well, probably job opportunities at the time. Um, I'm sure things looked good at the time around here, and can't blame them for wanting a better life. Um, then same thing, with my grandma's family. They all came from Shawnee, Oklahoma. That's where my grandma was born. Was in Shawnee. Um, they came out here, I want to say, early to mid 40s. I still actually have my grandma's yearbook um, from when she went to high school in 1944. It has her and it has my great aunt in it. Um, my grandma, for a while, like, she worked out in the fields. And I think when she was in high school, she worked at a place called Tad's that was right across from College of the Sequoias. Um, and then Tad's became what eventually a lot of people knew as Merle's Drive-In. And then now Merle's is The Habit. But anyway, she worked at Tad's back in the 40s. I asked my dad, was she one of the ladies, on the roller skates? He goes, heck no, she would have probably fell and broke a leg or something. She was one of the cooks. And so, like I said, they worked out in the fields and eventually got married. Had 7 kids in total. The first one didn't make it. She was a stillborn. And then there was 6 others. I remember my dad telling me stories about how I could only imagine, my grandpa going all day, working out in the fields, and then coming home to work in the garden. And that just kind of struck a chord in me. And I was even thinking about that yesterday, thinking, man, I could only imagine, my grandpa had a couple acres, he still worked out in the fields, had a couple acres, still had a big garden to have to tend to, even after he came home from the fields. It's like I was thinking, man, that'd be like the last thing I would want to do. But, back then, there wasn't a whole lot of options. Back then, they did whatever they could do to get by. And I'll be the first to admit, I've had it on easy street ever since I was a young kid. I never had to work out in the fields. I never went out in the fields. And I'm sure my grandparents never wanted that for their grandkids. They probably wanted better. And I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody else, but I'm just saying that I have definitely a respect and mad props for anyone who does that kind of work and then comes home to tend to their own garden. Um, I go and I work in an air conditioned building, and sometimes I complain a little bit about tending to that and weed pulling. It's one of my favorite things to do, but I don't have to grow a garden because I can go and get whatever I need at the grocery store. But, I do it because I enjoy it. And in a way, it's like free money. You plant food, you water it, you grow it, and you get more than what you paid for, essentially. Um, I don't know. I think this generation's spoiled. People my age, people younger, spoiled. We've never had to live through hard times. We've never had to do whatever we could to survive. And if it ever came down to having to go back to growing a garden or raising your own livestock, a lot of stuff would change drastically. And I'm not going to say that I know how to raise livestock or I know how to butcher my own animals because I don't. So I would have a lot to learn just like anybody else. Um, going to the grocery store one day may not be an option. What are you going to do? So that's pretty much, yeah, I still shop. I still go to the grocery store just like anybody else. But I also try to grow my own food. It take a lot more than just a small garden to get by. But I think for more or less, it's like the practice of it, getting into the practice, getting into the habit of planting your own stuff and growing your own stuff. Um, just like with a lot of people buying chickens for eggs. Um, I haven't done that personally, but um, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Is just I definitely have respect for the older generations. Um, a lot of respect for them and how they grew up. And, without the older generations, we wouldn't be here in the first place. So they were definitely a tough breed of people. But, all right, guys, I just wanted to get on here and put a little bit of my 2 cents in. Take it or leave it for what it's worth. But I got to do a little bit of work right now while the sun's still out. Sometimes even the sun's not out, I just turn on the back porch light and get to it for a little while. But definitely got to get things ready. Tomorrow is my Tuesday. Yes, tomorrow is actually Friday, but it will be my Tuesday. It's gonna start getting even busier. I mean, summertime's not even here yet, but it's definitely gonna start getting busier, especially before the 4th of July. Oh, do we have a guest? Where are you, guest? Where are you, Duncan? Hey, Duncan. Hey, look at the phone. Hey, behind you. I don't know why. He just doesn't look into the phone. Oh, 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 oh. This is Duncan. Oh, yeah. He's been in the family for what, 6 years now? 7 years? Something like that. Maybe about 6 years. At least. He's getting a little bit older. He's like a Chihuahua mix. We want to say part pug. I don't know. He just has a really curly tail, like a little piggy. But all right, guys. I really enjoyed our conversation, and speak with you again soon. Bye, guys.